I can't express how happy I am watching JoJo Part 6. We had the first two episodes covered yesterday, and here's episodes 3 and 4. The Visitor, Part 1 and Part 2, the double episode formula that I'm planning on doing for over the next week here, definitely is working out because I can't imagine, there's a cliffhanger at the end of this episode 4 here, but just the idea of the flow of both of these parts, they work so well because what I really liked about The Visitor is how immediately I was like, it's probably going to be Jotaro, but I'm like, okay, then we can't trust the boy, right? Because if this boy is giving us a bone, there's some cursed object clearly trying to keep you in prison. My assumption was the kid was the bad person. And then when I saw Jotaro, and honestly, the kid didn't really feel like good or bad, but I was believing what Jotaro was kind of laying down about the assassin, this blind assassin who, honestly, the idea of having a stand that could read airflow, just everything was lining up, and I didn't second guess anything. As information was revealed, my caution towards characters kind of just went away, and I was buying in at everything at face value. So the JoJo twist of that, it was actually a dream for what we were seeing pretty much as soon as they got into that room, I really enjoyed because while there was clues things were amiss, I was just chalking it up to maybe Jotaro did it. I don't know why exactly. I was just like, okay, her handcuffs disappeared. I just thought in my head, stopping time, maybe remove them just because clearly he was there to break her out. This was the jailbreak episode. And I knew something was going to keep them there a little bit longer, but I just wasn't expecting them not to have actually moved. And when she came to, because she was basically wounded by the bone in her hand, it's interesting because the idea wasn't like it was anything overly special, seemingly. It's not like it was a blessed or cursed object. It seemingly was just something there that she hurt herself in her sleep, and that's the only reason, she might have a chance at escaping the fate worse than death. It was so cool to see that because I really did buy into it was a floating object, it was just reading the air movements, and it was a cool ability for, who was apparently this masterclass assassin. So just taking everything at face value of what was going down, not questioning, is there loopy gas in the room? Because when things were going really, really wild in episode 4, where she was basically like, she knocked off the gas to basically make it so it was hard to predict where she was. So what I was thinking was happening was that, like, she was in the gas for too long and things, she wasn't seeing things clearly. And then my assumption was, what if the kid is bad news? What if boy's doing something? Like, what if he's behind something? Maybe he's creating a fake Jotaro, and what happened to the real one? That's when my mind was really going crazy. And to just see the buildup and, like, going back and looking at some of those scenes, realizing what was going down in that kind of almost dream sequence was really cool. There was a couple of calls that actually kind of surprised me with Jotaro, like, one getting shot through his shoulder. Wasn't a life-threatening blow, but he was gushing some blood, and just everything about that situation, because Jolene doesn't have a good connection with her dad. So it's understandable why she almost has that rebellious spirit to do what she wants, so she's trying to attack being the experienced, stand user he is. I completely understood why he was getting frustrated and trying to save her, and, pretty much I was like, well, we're just going to watch a situation that this fight's going to go down, she'll probably eventually win, but ultimately, like, she's going to just cost everyone their lives, it feels like. The guard was looking dead. The guard did kind of seem like a prick, but at the same time, given the type of clientele, the guards probably have to deal with, it's understandable why some would be just naturally aggressive. But still, the boy was such an interesting concept, and I'm really unsure how they're going to get out of that situation, because my assumption was, with her woke up, she would then use her, like, unraveling ability, poke old dad, make him bleed, he'd wake up, we'd star platinum, everything would be okay. But honestly, no idea. And I really liked that in episode 3 here, the idea of lending money. Like, I was really just ready for the next 2 episodes here to just be on the insides of the jail and, like, what's going down. The idea that once you lend money, they're never going to pay you back, and then you're going to kind of the bitch of the jail, like you see with this one character. So the idea of once was enemy is now kind of frenemy, or maybe even friend. It's hard to tell with Gwes, but it's still, like, nice that, she gave her kind of like a pick-me-up, because really she, despite being able to beat the living shit out of probably most of the inmates there, you definitely want to be on the alpha wolf side where you don't have to prove your strength, but really just show that, you mean money, I guess, in this world. So the idea of like trying to get it back and then basically that shakedown scene. I love how I think what she did was she like basically cut up like a coin and put it in the drinks and stuff. So basically IBS kicked in, bowel syndrome, and the idea that $1 turned into like $20 and how it just screwed over everyone. I really, really like that. I thought it was such a clever way to get back at some pretty shitty people who are taking advantage of just already a pretty shitty environment, even if it was your own doing getting there. I mean, there's no reason to make it even worse, but money does make the world go round. From the cafeteria, things just sort of happen, to the payphones having to reserve a month in advance or pay like 10 times the normal fee. It's just absolutely crazy. It was just so cool that, these episodes, despite, like, obviously JoJo's Fridays were always great, and I know there's probably going to be a lot of people who are going to watch JoJo one episode every week, but I think, just having over the course of a week, 6 videos covering 2 episodes at a time, whether or not, they fall perfectly, part 1 and part 2 of The Visitor as an example, or, I have to split them up into videos when there are, multiple parts going into it. It's just really cool to see what this adaptation's doing, because every part of JoJo has something unique about it. They always have similar elements, great stands once stands were introduced, great fights, great poses, great characters. But the settings are always different, whether it's a venture to Egypt, whether it's, just a very normal town that gets a little bizarre, to the idea of a prison setting that probably won't last in prison forever. I imagine there will be eventually a jailbreak, but introducing those familiar elements like Dio and just, subordinates of Dio, someone very loyal, and then in return wanting to hurt the Joestar line. It's really cool to see how it still feels like JoJo, but it's not just having a female lead this time that's making it feel different. It's all the elements at play, from the really cool setting to, honestly, I'd seen the comment in yesterday's video there talking about how they really like the stands in this part. It's no surprise. They visually and on the power level, they continue to get better every part, I find. Sometimes you look at stands and say, holy shit, that's going to be the most OP stand ever, but still, you always find something creative to love about a JoJo part, and I'm really glad to know that this is clearly going to be a show that will have every anime part out there eventually. It's just a matter of how many years it takes to get to the next one, as the author just apparently never wants to take a break and just keeps pumping out more JoJo parts. One thing I do want to add as well, which I didn't really see it in my own comment section, but I was looking at Twitter because JoJo's been trending for, honestly, ever since it dropped at like 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday there. I was seeing a lot of talk about the opening, and honestly, everyone that I follow seems to really dig it, but I did see some pushback saying that the song isn't as good as past JoJo, but honestly, JoJo always has great openings, so it's hard for me to rank openings above the other, but it's interesting because I don't really recall in the past couple of parts really any highly liked or top-rated comments regarding openings being mid or lower quality. So I am curious, especially for people who are watching these videos, what people think of the opening, because I haven't seen too many thoughts on that in my comments. It'll be interesting to see how the opening, the opinions towards the opening evolves as the episodes go on and we get into Core 2 and Core 3. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on either episodes 3 or 4 of this amazing JoJo part. I'm really, really loving it. I feel like it's going to be one of my favorites by the time, we eventually do reach the 3rd core there. But let me know your feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.